Look who's in the reject bin. It's the Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Dolls like you and me. Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Made him perfectly. So if you got a bump on your nose or lumps on your toes, do not despair. Be like the Raggy Dolls and say I just don't care. 'Cause Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls.
are happy just to be Raggy Dolls, Raggy Dolls, dolls like you and me.
It was a Sunday afternoon, and the factory was closed. But the Raggy Dolls were very busy indeed. Back to Front was in the tool shed, finishing off his model glider.
Here we are. One more dab of glue, and then a test flight.
The other Raggy Dolls were busy helping Lucy in her little kitchen garden. She had grown lots of onions, and it was now time to pull them up and tie them into strings. "This is the best way to store les oignons," he said, holding up a perfect string. "This is how they do it en France." Just then, Back to Front arrived with his model glider. He showed it proudly to the others. "There," he said. "Finished at last. What do you think?" "It's great," stammered Hi-Fi. "Yes, brilliant," agreed Dotty.
Ah, but does it fly?
Said Sad Sack in his usual gloomy way. "I'm just about to find out," chuckled Back to Front. So saying, he raised the glider above his head and threw it into the air. The Raggy Dolls watched as it circled around above their heads and then nosedived straight into a marrow.
Whoops,
Said Back to Front.
sorry, Lucy.
Said Dotty. "Somehow I don't think a vegetable garden is a good place to test model gliders." "It doesn't matter," said Lucy. "That marrow was too big anyway. It was supposed to be a courgette." "It needs more height," said Hi-Fi. "You should make a catapult." "Yeah, good thinking," said Back to Front. "Now where can I find a big rubber band?" "What about elastic?" said Princess. "I'm sure there's some in the storeroom." In no time at all, the Raggy Dolls had found some elastic, 2 metal tent pegs and a hammer, and set off towards the big field for the grand test flight. As soon as they got there, they set to work, making the catapult. Hi-Fi, Back to Front and Claude banged in the tent pegs, and Lucy, Princess and Dotty tied the elastic. Sad Sack held the glider to stop it blowing away. They were all so busy they hadn't noticed that the wind had dropped and that the air had become hot and sticky. At last, the catapult was finished, and it was time to launch the glider. Back to Front hooked the glider to the elastic and walked back while the others counted. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. The elastic stretched and got tighter and tighter. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The power of the elastic was so strong that Back to Front could hardly hold on. 0! Back to Front let go, and whoosh! The model glider soared higher and higher up into the air. The Raggy Dolls cheered as it circled around high above them. But instead of starting to come down, it seemed to go higher and higher. "It must be the hot air currents," said Back to Front. "That's how real gliders stay up so long."
Oh no,
Said Sad Sack.
look.
He pointed to the glider. It was heading towards the dark wood. "Come on, everybody," said Dotty. "We must follow it, or we'll lose it." Half an hour later, 7 very puffed-out Raggy Dolls sat down under a big tree in the middle of the dark wood. There was no sign of the glider, and in the distance they could hear the rumble of thunder. "Oh dear," said Lucy. "I think there's going to be a storm." "Maybe it won't come this way," said Dotty. "Come on, one last search. I'm sure the glider is around here somewhere." The Raggy Dolls spread out. They looked everywhere, up in the branches of trees, down among the clumps of ferns. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Sad Sack began to wish he'd never seen the glider. He would much rather be tying onions into strings, even better, helping Claude make onion soup. He was so busy thinking how hungry he was, he decided that the big, dark green bush, shaped like a giant squirrel, was all in his imagination, brought on by lack of food. But when he tripped on a broken flower pot, he knew he wasn't dreaming.
I'm in somebody's garden,
He thought. Sure enough, As he looked around, he was in a garden, but it was very overgrown. And there was a house with broken windows, all empty, with ivy growing up the walls. And stuck in the ivy, just below an upstairs window, was the glider. "Over here, everybody," he called. The Raggy Dolls soon found a way into the old empty house. Inside it was cold, damp and gloomy. It was also very dusty and dirty, with cobwebs everywhere. "Gosh," said Princess, "nobody's lived here for ages. I wonder why it's empty." "I'm not sure we should be in here," said Lucy nervously. "Let's just hurry up and get the glider." The Raggy Dolls made their way to the stairs and started to climb up. "Stay close to the wall," ordered Dotty. "The woodwork might be rotten." Sure enough, halfway up, 2 of the stairs were missing. There was only just enough room for the Raggy Dolls to get past the hole, but it was quite risky. "We'd better hold hands," said Hi-Fi. "Hang on," said Back to Front. "I've got some spare elastic. Let's tie ourselves together as well." "Good thinking," said Dotty. Holding hands and tied together with elastic, the Raggy Dolls edged past the missing stairs. Back to Front led the way. He could face the wall and look where he was going. They were nearly safe when all of a sudden there was a brilliant flash of lightning and a huge clap of thunder. They all jumped, but Lucy and Sadsack slipped and fell. Down they tumbled into the black hole in the stairs. "Hang on!" yelled Dotty. But the elastic stretched tight and bounced them back up again. Claude managed to grab Lucy, but poor Sadsack went down for a second time. "Oh no!" he moaned. But when he popped up again, everyone was ready and they pulled him to safety. Thunder rumbled all around as the Raggy Dolls recovered their breath. "That was nearly a disaster," puffed Dotty. "Come on, almost there." At last, they reached the top and found themselves on a landing.
Now, which room has the window with the glider outside?
Said Back to Front. They soon found it and managed to grab the glider just as it started to pour with rain. The Raggy Dolls were exhausted.
"It looks like we're going to be here for some time,"
yawned Dotty. "We might as well have a nap until the rain stops." Everyone agreed. They climbed up into an old armchair and fell asleep. It was early in the evening when they woke up. Outside, the rain had stopped, but inside, 2 big eyes were looking at them. It was a barn owl.
"Who are you?"
demanded the big white bird.
"Oh, please," whimpered Lucy. "We didn't mean any harm. We just came to get our glider."
The barn owl listened as the Raggy Dolls explained how they got there and how they'd nearly fallen through the stairs.
"It's dangerous to play in empty houses,"
said the wise old owl.
"Yes,"
said Sadsack.
"we know."
"And now we've got to go all the way down those horrible stairs again,"
sobbed Lucy.
"Don't worry,"
said the barn owl.
"Climb on my back. I'll fly you home."
The Raggy Dolls were very grateful.
"Are you sure?"
said Princess.
"We don't want to be any trouble."
"No trouble at all,"
said the owl.
"This is the time I always fly."
And as the sun went down and the stars began to twinkle, on silent wings, the Raggy Dolls flew over the dark wood and the big field, all the way back to Mr. Grimes' soft toy factory and their very own reject bin. It was a magical end to a very exciting day.
Raggy dolls, dolls like you and me. Raggy dolls, made imperfectly. So if you're not at ease with your knobbly knees and your fingers are all thumbs, stand on your 2 left feet and join our Raggy Doll chums. 'Cause Raggy dolls are happy just to be. Raggy dolls, dolls like you and me.